Love and respect, everyone. This is Roxanne Grinage. It's Wednesday, February 10th. And someone I have a great deal of respect for here on YouTube, CPS Sucks, asked me if I would try to convey in a YouTube video my idea for administrative solutions to the market entering challenges that CPS, corruption, and government victims have for obtaining fair entry into the litigation industry for the sake of rescuing our children seeking lawful remedies. Basically, how do we get to a point of, as a class, has we been victimized as a result of CPS, corruption, and government on many different levels? How do we actually get to the point where we can get class actions going on as a group, where a class of plaintiffs have certain claims in common and can attract the litigation industry professionals who would normally not take our cases on contingently? And how do we avoid sidestep getting ripped off by family court level attorneys who may or may not act in our own best interest? Okay, so the actual brass tacks of what the administrative service would do to do a class action, you have to be court compliant. So you could get that from, if you want to do it yourself, you can get that, or if you want to understand the steps that any reputable or a professional service has to take in order to represent your class action claims, you just go to a Google search and punch in things like federal class action, punch in fraud, official corruption, fraud, civil rights claims. Punch in, let's see, a good one. Oh, pro se litigants, pro se class actions. Punch in things like that and look for hits that come up with federal rules of civil procedure. Okay? As those hits come up, then you just look and you'll get the actual federal rules of civil procedure. You'll get what the criteria are for a compliant claim for filing in a particular jurisdiction. We like to go, we being higher lyrics, is learning the power of going to our federal U.S. district courts about felony crimes, not about custody, but about the crimes that were committed in order to rob us of our parental rights and to recklessly endanger our children, and to cause the eventual personal and permanent injuries and wrongful death and obstruction of education and health care that cause our children to be missing from viable U.S. economy careers. We make the U.S. economy connection to the theft of careers, the violation of our constitutional rights. Higher Lyrics is demonstrating that by filing pro se claims, particularly in the U.S. district courts, complaints, pro se, simultaneously and at the same time with appeals of the custody issues and the support issues in the superior courts, we are able to gather strong data that, if publicly posted and if made available by a citizens controlled docket, that we have a clear and truthful public record, a docket which supersedes, for the sake of justice, if you will, and eventually claims processes, class actions and everything, that will supersede the traditionally evolved censored dockets of the family courts, the superior courts, the state supreme courts, and sadly and tragically, we have learning and we have voluminous data of the collusion of the U.S. District Court, because as we complain about court-positioned assailants who are many times attorneys, commercial litigation attorneys, victimizing families in family court venues, we find that they are the colleagues of the U.S. District Court judges in the U.S. District Courts, that we are complaining about them for the crimes that they have committed, and they are well protected through what we are documenting a modus operandi of docket manipulation, where they're protected. The the pro se litigant is thwarted, challenged by court-controlled docket manipulation, where our demands for jury trial are simply censored, or our exhibits are lopped off and served hard copy because we don't have ECF filing privilege. But the purpose of filing pro se class actions or filing pro se first is to build in federal courts, is not to really get redress and relief, but to get the data that we need to gather to attract a class action litigation firm who will see the voluminous merits of our case and know that as a group of claimants, we will at least have settlement. And a no-nonsense class action firm is also many times usually positioned to invoke audits, to open up audits and open up books and demand scrutiny of the Recovery.gov agencies, the Departments of Economic Security, and the procurement offices. And we can actually track the paper trail of who is siphoning unfairly the stimulus money, the money that's meant for the Recovery.gov agencies, the money that's meant to come to the middle class and the working poor, who the court-positioned assailants, which are a higher class, a wealthier class of people, attorneys and judges, and state employed social workers, have a higher quality of life, and they enjoy the American dream of being able to educate their children and keep their children safe, while they literally feed upon the destruction of our families by putting our children in positions where they become nothing more than billable commodities, to have everything done to them, testing, surgery, psychoneurological, all kind of psychological testing, where someone can get billed. And it's usually an agency that's getting billed, and the money is being, the money that's meant to pay for services to help families and unify families and nurture families is actually being abused through systematic 1983 Civil Rights Act. So you're probably saying, how does this help you learn how to do a class action? This is my practice model. I'm putting it up here now. It's a graphic. It's a practice model to recognize who is actually standardly presenting, the demographics to look for on both sides. You're looking for the victim, and you're looking for the industry that is actually defrauded as a result of the U.S. economy fraud, child slaughter, and court reform state of emergency, and why it's necessary to document everything, and how the class actions will be set up to show to attract law firms and law students and technology students who are very much interested in intelligence, information technology that will reform our courts by a gathering of a public display of data. So I'm running out of time now. I'm going to make a page at Higher Lyrics that'll show you all the Google hits and the links that you can go to for learning how to do this yourself. And we give an advisory to anyone, any CPS victim that's getting ensnared in groups and coalitions and so-called collaborations and coalitions that are charging you a membership fee, an annual membership fee, and they're not completely clear on what your membership fee buys. We advise you not to pay any membership fees, that all document production services and any lawful professional services should be paid for at the time the services are rendered, and you should look for professional services that allow you to exchange goods and services, or your authorizations to allow the service to enter into court reform case studies and things like that before you get ripped off paying membership fees and find yourself in a personality-driven victimization of what's going on now, what we understand is going on now with several of the well, two that I know of. One is in North Carolina and one is in Florida, that are taking advantage of people by charging membership fees and giving them absolutely nothing viable in return. Anyone you give your information to should account to you as to where your information went and how you'll be contacted if there are distributions, settlements, or success in any claims. This is Roxanne Grinage. It's February 10th, 2010. God bless everyone, and continue strongest prayers for the rescue of children of all ages that have been devastated and destroyed as a result of the financially incentive CPS law starting in 1984. Thank you.